Right, welcome back to the 12th Man, the regular Thursday night Roadshow at 7:30pm every week. If you're unfamiliar with the format of the show, we look at all the latest Ipswich Town news and take a look ahead at this weekend's fixture. And this week we obviously have nobody. That's right, the Football League has been suspended until at least the 4th of April 2020. So in the meantime, we'll try and bring you as much content as possible. However, we cannot guarantee this, as you may allude to. First things first, we're aiming for the best new content creator. No, we're not. Best content creator at this year's Football Content Awards in May. Details on how to vote are below. Just have a look in the description. Just open up that description and I'll post all the details you need. But we can't get to the finals without your support. So, just bang a tweet. Look, all the details are there. You can bang a tweet. You can go onto the web. You can select IpswichFanzone. Just make sure you vote, because if we can get there, that'd be a massive. But at the same time, we still don't know where it's going to be on because of the coronavirus outbreak. So, deadly serious. Obviously, we'll be talking about that tonight. But tonight, we're joined by the infamous Thomas Whitby and obviously Jack Grady on my left-hand side. Boys, how are we doing tonight? Bearing in mind that, you were two of seven originally. They've withered down, haven't they? Gone into self-isolation. Don't blame them. I mean, we're on the brink now as a country, I think. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult times at the minute.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen the next day. I mean, it wouldn't surprise if we were on lockdown by the end of this week, starting next week for a month or two. But I think football's the least of our worries as a country at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely right, mate. Grady, this could be the last point we have in freedom for a while, apart from whatever you've got in your fridge. But, we're going to enjoy it, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, of course. But, the country needs to focus on this coronavirus because it's getting out of hand now. The impact's like doubling every day nearly. Yeah. So it needs to be sorted. So I'd rather have no football than no family. Yeah,
you're right. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Both let's look at the latest news, because obviously everyone's sitting at home. They haven't had a football fix in a while, and I know this isn't a football fix, but it's still in terms of our regular schedule. Something we do every week, and we didn't have our game against Bristol Rovers on Saturday, but that is the least of our worries, like we just discussed there. But the latest news in regards to the football is that both the Premier League and the EFL chose to suspend football until at least the 4th of April amid the coronavirus outbreak. This, following a trend, meant that virtually all football in Europe has now been suspended. A period of uncertainty has now hit. EFL chair Rick Parry said, "These are indeed challenging times in the league, its club and the game as a whole. However, now this is time for cool heads and calm reflection, rather than speculation, as we look to steer our competitions and clubs through this period of uncertainty. Now, unfortunately, my job is to speculate, so therefore we may cross all ramifications of football far and wide this evening. However, Town have given their players 10 days off whilst uncertainty still lingers over football. Teddy Bishop was feared to be one of those players who've contracted the virus. However, this remains speculative to date. The EFL released a statement on Monday, and whilst I appreciate this is an hour-by-hour situation, you will be watching this Thursday night, and there's still no plans to resume the Football League. We must appreciate that, however much we laugh and joke about the situation tonight, it is important to note that this has never happened in the history of football, and the suspension of football itself has only come for a state of war previously. People have died and will die from the virus. I just hope this will come to an end sooner rather than later." So, boys, to be honest, news in terms of Ipswich Town is very thin this week. We're going to talk about football more generally, rather than specifically about our club tonight. But if I was going to pick out on some news, ex-Town player Alan Brazil has gone into semi-retirement. The 60-year-old who hosts the namesake breakfast show on TalkSport for the last 20 years has decided to go part-time, whilst Laura Woods, who we all know from Sky Sports, is come in as part-time permanent host. All the best, Big Al. So, do you listen to TalkSport?
I'll be honest, the only time I listen to it is on deadline day. It's the only time I really listen to it. So,
I'm personally a massive fan of the show, but I listen to it every morning on the way to work. And Alan Brazil, I never saw him play in an Ipswich shirt, but resonate with him as a bloke. It's quite funny, and obviously him with the Romford Pele. in the morning, or whether it be Ali McCoy's store. Do you know what I mean? It's just banter, and even Laura Woods when she's on there. Tom, do you get to listen to it much? I know you're in the car a lot, mate.
Well, no, I only have one radio station on anyway half the time. But no, to be fair, I don't really listen to it too much. But I see most of the things come up on Twitter, so I see all the funny bits and the best bits from there, to be honest, mate. Yeah. It does look a good crack. I'm sure he'll be missed for the time that he's not going to be there.
Yeah.
But getting on a bit, innit? You need to kind of take your retirement payment and live your life a little bit.
He's worked 20 years in radio. I mean, that's some feat, isn't it? Nowadays to work consistently at that level. But boys, more news in terms of transfers. This coming transfer window. I mean, do we even speculate there's going to be a transfer window at this point?
It's going to be like Christmas time, I think.
But Luke Wolford has been linked with a move away from Town. Amid speculation, Town couldn't hold on to Downs in the summer last week. This week, it's been said that Leeds have joined Crystal Palace and QPR, looking at the 21-year-old centre-back, said to be worth only £3 million.
That's an insult.
Say that again, Jack.
That's an insult, isn't it? That's disgraceful. He ain't worth $3 million. He's worth more.
What is he worth then?
Oh, you're pushing 6 at a minimum. 6 million at a minimum. Minimum.
Snip, yeah, at a snip.
Then again, it comes back to league that we're in.
Yeah,
if we're in the Championship, you can at least stick an extra 5, 6, 7 million on top of that.
Yeah.
But because the league, when players don't go for that much in this league anymore, and you've seen it with obviously the records when players do move on. But no, we know the ability that Luke's obviously got. But I think since January, he hasn't shown what he had in the first 6 months. He's kind of died off a bit. Yeah. I don't know if the transfer news went to his head in January, but I wouldn't even be thinking about selling him $3 million, like Jack said. That's
something you alluded to back a few months ago. You said that transfer news is probably taking his mind away from things. We want to hold on to our best players, but $3 million in League One's a lot of money, and it can make up for the deficit that we lose having not played between now and whenever.
Yeah, but you look at it like hypothetically, like what bit of money of that, even if it was $3 million, what part of that money would Lambert see? He wouldn't see any of it because
questionable.
Yeah, it's because what's that? What
Tom's questioning whether it's even Lambert that's going to see the money.
Well, yeah, that's very true. Yeah, but yeah, it's. I don't think we'll see it. I don't think Lambert or whoever's in charge at the time will see any of that money. No, that will go towards the stadium. I can guarantee it.
I don't know, mate. It's £3 million, like you say, is not a lot of money for a player that's so highly regarded by Ipswich Town fans. But in terms of where we are as a team, £3 million is a lot of money, and I've got to agree with Tom on this one. £3 million for a player that wasn't even our first team squad at the start of the season, realistically, is something I'd take and move on. And we've got plenty of young centre backs coming through that should be given a chance. Henderson and Darber. I mean, who else?
I've really rated Henderson at that.
Go on, say that again.
I really rated Henderson at that Peterborough.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Were you even there?
No, I watched.
Can't remember. Cool, he just got called out there, didn't he? He watched it on iFollow, mate. Yeah, he was there in his armchair.
Armchair Andy.
Who's the other one that the French guy?
Is that one I keep scoring in the under-21s?
Yeah, Ando, isn't it? Levi Ando. He's another one that seems to be coming up through the ranks. So you've got potentially 3 successors to Luke Wolford in there, and that's what you've got to have. You've got to have continuity going forward. Something we've alluded to in the last few weeks is that we need to be making our own money to push forward, especially in these climates right now. What's just happened is undoubtedly going to change the face of football for the next, not even 5. We're talking 10 years. Yeah. It's going to take ages to get over this. But let's look at other things anyway, quickly. Town's Ex-Players Association Hall of Fame dinner scheduled for Friday has been cancelled due to the coronavirus crisis. The invitation-only dinner, now in its 41st year, was to take place at Sir Bobby Robson Suite at Portman Road, with more than 200 ex-players and their guest attendants. So, obviously, the club are taking this really seriously at the moment, as is everywhere else. And to be honest, in terms of public places, this pub is probably the only place that's, pubs are the only places that you could potentially go social gathering at the moment. And I mean, by tomorrow it'll be closed, won't it?
Yeah.
It's just a nightmare. But like in the last 24 hours, the club has suspended all women's football, as well as community trust activity, as the country urges closer and closer to lockdown. We've got a number of coronavirus speculation talking points tonight, boys. But let's start with the obvious question: is it finish the season at all costs?
Yeah, I think obviously a lot of different scenarios have been pulled up, and you can't not finish the league. I mean, you've had teams that have worked over 8-9 months, and you can't let that work go down the drain. Like Liverpool are going to win their first title, they're going to win it. There's no doubt that they're going to win it.
Well, there is a doubt. That's why we're asking.
Yeah, well, and as funny as it would be for the season before and them not win it, I mean,
wouldn't it be ironic that the only season that Leeds and Liverpool both top of the league, both miss out on promotion or win the Premier League, respectively, that a virus hits out at the division, it's going to change the face of football, like I just said there. But mate, the question is, finish season at all costs. If they didn't finish the season, then technically it wouldn't be a failure this season for Ipswich Town, would it, Jack?
It's very true, but it's just gonna be hard. I mean, because you never want to see a season finish early. I mean, the impact it could have on smaller clubs. Take Rochdale, Southend. They're both in financial difficulty already.
You look at Barnet today. I don't know if you heard about Barnet, but they've made all their non-playing staff redundant. Exactly. They've put them all up for redundancy, which is horrible. Go on, say that again.
Think about a sport of arbitration, like the amount of fluent legal case they're going to have against Leeds and West Brom. The amount of money you get from the Premier League. It's money orientated, this world now, and teams go up to Premier League, it's worth 160 million at least. And if Leeds and West Brom are getting stopped for doing that, and any team in around that playoffs are getting stopped for that chance, there's going to be a lot of money involved. Like Norwich are all but relegated, and
they're going to stay up.
And they'll stay up because of it.
Well, you're talking about money that makes the world go round now. You're talking about
there won't be any money.
More than £1 billion, cash wheel that is essentially it's just the centre of society. Football is the centre of society for the United Kingdom anyway, let's put it like that. Yeah. The money that's in this game is absolutely ludicrous, and like you say, yes, teams are on a knife edge, but you see teams like West Ham and Norwich saying, you should null and void the season. Well, it's absolutely fucking pathetic, because you're down there and you should be supporting any action made by the league anyway.
At the end of the day, they're down there for a reason.
Yeah.
You look at, I'll take Norwich for example, but you look at the reason they're down there. It's like our situation. The chairman ain't putting any money towards players, so they're in the same situation as us. I hate to admit it, but they are, and that's the reason they're down there. But if the season finishes at all costs, they're going to be staying up there. They're going to be celebrating like they won the World Cup.
The season's got to finish.
It has got to finish.
There's no other.
Tom's right. In terms of earnings, the season has got to finish, because they've essentially earned the money. We're talking about Premier League here and Championship as well. They've essentially earned the money that they were expected to earn in that year to play in front of a camera. That doesn't change if those fixtures are still played. You still play in front of the same cameras. But if they were to change it, and I said this to you the other day, you surely can't pay the same amount of money to watch the same thing all over again.
No, you can't.
Yeah, it's just given clubs an extra step up, and you look at those clubs down there, and they're really going to struggle. And it's something I haven't picked up on yet, but a number of football league clubs are reported to be fearing that their owners will walk away if the season's declared null and void. We're talking about numerous clubs here, not just one or two. This could even include Ipswich Town. It's a money-making business. How do we know how much money Marcus Evans makes per match day as Ipswich Town owner? We don't.
Apparently, I saw something today saying we'll lose $500,000 in match tickets if we don't see it the rest of the season. I think it's 6 games we've got left. We've got 5 left at home, haven't we? So that's $100,000 a game that obviously clubs will miss. That's a lot of money, especially in this league. Like we're saying, $3 million is quite a lot in this league. So is 500,000. It's loads. I think, like I just said, you've got to finish the season. Even if we start the season again in September, you've literally just got to finish it, and then start again at a later date. Football's screwed for 4 or 5 years at the minute, because the dates are going to be all over the place.
Sky and BT have come out and said they've got no plans on refunding fees, so that's done and dusted for the season. In terms of what the impact is on the Football League, what is going to happen? We could see less and less clubs involved next season. I mean, do we replace those clubs with clubs that still survived in lower leagues, or do we go for different? Do they go for a different approach? Do they include more teams in the Premier League?
One thing I'd like
drop
to know:
out of the Championship.
If the season was null and void, would Bury be put back in League One?
That's a fucking good question.
That's a very good point.
That's a good question, Thomas Whitby. Bury fan club are going mad right now. That you just said. That World Cup goal where Sturridge scores and they're all going mad on the park. Yeah. That's you right now. That's quality. Yeah, good question. But in terms of, go on.
Bolton will be starting on 0 points, wouldn't they? They were starting on 0 like everyone else, wouldn't they? If they 12
points got to carry over.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's an interesting impact. It really is. But like we said, we're living in, I hate this word, unprecedented times. Like, we should embrace change, I know. We should look forward. This could be something that changes our outlook on society completely, something that we'll never ever see again in our lifetime. Some people have never seen in their lifetime. But in terms of the impact it has socially, sport isn't as important as we all think it is, and I know we sit here and talk about it, but we need to have a clear head going forward, and surely something has to change in a way that we look at our league structure and how we rely on money to get over, get across the line. Yeah. And the Premier League clubs will turn around and say we don't rely on money, but they do. They do heavily rely on all of these fixtures being played. Champions League, for crying out loud. Yeah. Talk about that even not being played. But obviously they come out today and said the Euros have been cancelled and moved to 2021, confirmed at lunchtime today by the Norwegian Football Association. Surely this means they'll ditch the Nations League in the following year, but also they've gone with plans to make sure the Europa League and the Champions League finals are played out.
I've got a question about the Euros actually.
Yeah.
How are they gonna fit all the World Cup qualifying games in that if they've got the summer? Because that's when half the international games happen for that World Cup qualifying.
Well, you do remember that the World Cup is in the December. Is it the January 2022 or is it December?
It's December 2022.
So the arse end of December.
But what I think they might do, obviously, you get 13 places for Europeans for Europe. They usually have 4 that go through the playoffs. What I think they might do, they might thin out the groups, make 13 groups, and each winner goes through.
Yeah.
Because then it's less games to play. Because you'd obviously have 10 group games, push it down to 8. And go from there. I think the Nations League's going to have to get ditched because the finals are obviously going to be played in that summer.
Yeah.
Anyway, unless they play it in the summer of 2022 instead of because obviously we've got no World Cup that year, so they could play it then. One question I want to ask is about this Norwegian Football Association. Why are they announcing it when they're even in the Euros to start with?
He's coming out with all the questions tonight.
Yeah, all the questions. Tom, what's going on? Do you want my job, mate? Look, in terms of where we are as a club, we have to look at this. Internally, there's not been much come out. I know Leo Neal they released a 9-minute video today about the impact that it has on the club or what have you socially, but we can't really talk about it, boys. We can't. Ipswich Town is on pause. We must be on pause as well. 12th man isn't gonna work without no football news, unfortunately. The world ceases to go around without football.
Well, we can talk about how our FIFA crewmos is getting on and stuff like that instead.
Well, funny enough, mate, that's funny you say that because I just finished 3rd in the Premier League with Ipswich in 2022.
Was Toto Enciala captain?
No, I sold him, mate. I released him. Top goal scorer, Adam Armstrong with 22 goals.
Oh my God, you tell us FIFA.
Yeah. Who? He says who?
Blackburn striker.
Yeah, and I had a Forsberg. Was it Forsberg up front? No, Dolberg up front. Kasper Dolberg. Cool, what a player. Great hair. But yes, it's getting hard now. I mean, what have we got to look forward to? That we have no idea whether the season's going to play out. We have no idea what's going to happen next season. How does this impact on the transfer window? How does this impact on the team that we've got? I mean, we are. That's a good point. Do you think the transfer window will happen?
I don't think it will happen. I don't think there'll be time to. I mean, because if we carry on the season, we're going to be waiting until at least May at this rate with all the coronavirus impacts. We're going to be waiting until at least May.
UEFA want the season done by June. They want it done.
I was about to say that.
They want it done by June.
Tell me this. So, when is this coronavirus supposed to peak? 10 to 14 weeks. 10 to 14 weeks is when they want it to bloom and the season to be finished. It's just not possible that when it's safe to obviously start the season, it's going to have to be August, September time. Yeah. And I was thinking about different scenarios in my head. And what I think they have to do is finish off the season, say start in September, finish it December time, have a transfer window January, and maybe do a mini. So instead of playing each other twice, you play each other once. That takes you to the Euros, and you're back to normal again. But there's so many different possibilities. It's crazy.
There's drastic scenarios, and then there's scenarios where they expect everything to be back up and running next. I mean, Ipswich Town seriously think that their players are coming back after 10 days and then go and training again, and the league's going to resume in April. I mean, personally, I've just been told not to return to work for the next 12 weeks and work from home.
I'm on the verge of that. I've had news from that today. I'm on the verge of doing that. Yeah. We're waiting until next week to see what's happening. So
I mean, we joked about it earlier, but the likelihood that pubs are going to be closed from tomorrow is very likely. And they come out in the budget today and said, look, they're going to help small businesses continue, but in terms of social, gatherings, etc., going to the pub, going to cinema, going swimming, taking your kids out, it's not going to happen. The only thing you'll be able to do is stretch your legs at most and go shopping. Yeah. And, just necessary things to stay alive. And it's unfortunate, but in terms of working from home, that's an option that a lot of people have. A lot of people don't have. Being self-employed, you may be self-employed sitting at home. I know Tom's self-employed. What worries did that give you, mate?
Income, innit? Like, you've got all your outgoings going out. Like, how are you supposed to counteract that if the outgoings are still going out? I mean, what the government going to do? I mean, I've got a car to pay for, I've got everything else to pay for, and it's just not possible.
Well, they did come out today in the budget and say about savings on utilities, but most importantly, a 3-month payment holiday on mortgage payments for homeowners. Yeah. Now, obviously, if you're a homeowner, then that's fine. But if you're not a homeowner and you're self-employed, you've got no options at the moment. So you'll hear about that over the next few days, I assume. But £330 billion this country's put.
Where this country borrowing that money from?
15% of the GDP has been put into this effort alone to keep this country going. And to be honest, I think they ought to be applauded because to give everyone that handout it will help everyone. Yeah. There's people out there in absolute dire straits, and I think you need to applaud your government for that, especially after doing it so quick. And these things take time and lots of brains to put together. But in terms of football, can't say much, can't say any more. And unfortunately tonight, it's going to be shorter than it ever has been. But I'm afraid we're going to have to say goodbye until it's possible to do so in the future. Until the next fixture, we won't be bringing out a 12th man. Sadly, the Roadshow has come to an end. I think 22 pubs we've been to, dare I say. So we've had a good slog, but it's certainly not over. I don't think it is personally. I think they'll play the rest of the season out.
When that'll be.
Yeah, when we're built, we don't know. Yeah, you're right. But in terms of Ipswich Town, we still support the club. Through thick and thin, we'll be there at the end of the season. We've still got 9 games to play in my mind. This break could be beneficial to the club. Would you agree?
Yeah, good. I mean, it'll give the players, if when they go back to training, it'll give them time to knuckle down, get some hard work done. Yeah. I believe we're 7 points behind the playoffs, but the only thing that goes down for us is that teams above us have got games in hand. Yeah. So, but they're all going to be thinking we need to win those games, get one team away from the playoffs. Yeah. And unfortunately, that team is us at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. But vice versa to that is that all of those teams were in good form when they finished. They'll be looking to find their form again, won't they, Tom? Would it be ideal for an Ipswich team that started the season so bright after such a long break could do exactly the same again and finish off in the playoffs?
Oh my God. Dreams, isn't it? It's what you dream of. But what we've got on side is time, and we've got quite a few players out for injury. Yeah. So we could have a completely different starting 11 by the time we come back. So you could have Kane Vincent-Young back, Norwood could be back, all the big hitters could be back and we could be raring to go again. This could actually save Lambert's job.
Yeah.
This time, because you have a lot of time to work with the players, hopefully. Not in the near future. They won't be back in 10 days, I don't believe at all. I think we all know they won't be.
They're going to be self-isolating.
Well, you're going to have to. It's not the players got to remember, it's the players' family. You've got to remember they have parents, they have grandparents, and they're the ones that are going to be more affected than, obviously, the footballers. Like everyone says, football doesn't matter in times like this at all. But I just want it back.
We all do, man.
I mean, I see it every day on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's been dead, to be honest, hasn't it? In answer to this, there's been a lot of memes or whatever with regards to where people's thoughts are at. But in terms of football, it's been pretty poor, and that's obvious because there's nothing to talk about, is there?
Ipswich have started doing like famous goals that have made all the fans happy, but
yeah.
Sorry, but the one that I want on there ain't been on there yet, so I'm pretty pissed off at that.
Which one?
Oh, the Chainbow header against Norwich when we thought we nearly won it. That was the greatest feeling. But then I think we can.
It's not on it, mate, because of the heartbreak that ensued afterwards.
I know, but still, like that's probably one of the greatest moments, and like that's the closest we come to beating Norwich in however many years.
One of the greatest anti-climaxes in history. The thing is, I was brought up and seeing us pace Norwich every time, mate. So it wasn't unusual for Ipswich to beat Norwich when I was growing up, but for you, as a youngster, probably even for you, Tom, you very rarely seen Ipswich beat Norwich.
I think my first game that we beat Norwich was 3-1. Danny Haynes came on, scored twice. That was my first one, and then we had I think it was the following year when we sent Norwich down.
Yeah,
I remember that. Alan Quinn, wasn't it?
Was it 3-2 at Portman Road? I think it was.
Yeah, it was Alan Quinn, wasn't it?
Alan Lee was playing for Norwich as well that day, and we were a bit edgy about that. But in terms of where we go now, boys, I think we should end it there. We do need your vote for the Football Content Awards. Obviously, all the details are below again. We want to represent Ipswich Town once again this year at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Whether or not that goes ahead still is questionable, but in terms of where we want to be as a channel, that is exactly where we want to be at the end of the season, representing this club. It's been a good long season. We've been all over the place. We've travelled over 7,500 miles. It's been a long slog. We've had some good times. We've had some bad times. You'll see those over the next few weeks. Obviously, I'm going to be recycling all the content from this season. Some absolutely incredible moments. We're talking goals, we're talking interviews, all kinds of stuff. But just have a look back and just reminisce about some good and bad memories. Some terrible lines from Jack, I know, and Whitby getting angry over stupid things. So, yeah.
My hotel room is situated in Sunderland. That still pisses me off.
We won't talk about that, mate. But in terms of what we've got plenty coming your way. Be patient with us, stick with us, make sure you subscribe, and keep up with the content. It's going to be quiet, but we'll try and bring you as much as we can. So details below for vote, and make sure you leave a vote. Thanks for watching again, and until next time, come on you Blues.